Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. And today we're going to be talking about the new update. We're about what is it, like a month maybe, or less than that, and some change into this brand new update. I'm not finna go over the changes or whatever because I'm gonna assume that you know what is in this update, and then considering that you clicked on this video knowing what it's finna be about, I think we could just go ahead and skip all the logistics. That's probably not even the right word. Basically, this update is really bad, and specifically for PvP. And I have some genuine criticisms here. So, let's say for example, you have max gambit PvP. Well, I guess the previous version of max gambit PvP to stop Doom Money or any other shield related gambits, but they only knock off 3. And all the other person has to do is just take 0 pits at their time to protect themselves. That's all they're doing. They're just protecting themselves. And now, considering that Doom Money is genuinely good, it doesn't take them anything to just do 4K. That's my honest criticism. You have to pack too much to counter either one really OP strategy or to pack a whole bunch of shit to counter everything. And as you can clearly see, I don't have the deck space or the goddamn training points for that. That shit is dead. As you can see from the clips that I got from my stream, technically today, but when y'all see this, it might be days from now. But in this clip, I'm essentially giving you guys a legitimate concern, not even really a concern, an issue that is prevalent now in PvP. And that has been prevalent ever since they have been trying to introduce multiple schools set in one. Now for PvE, I don't think this is a problem at all. The fact that we're able to use different schools makes sense because bosses and mobs are able to use whatever they want, whenever they want, for free when we don't have that ability. Considering the fact that the meta in PvE is just basically blade up and then hit, you ain't gonna be able to do that with another school if you don't have the damage, accuracy, pierce, crit, all that stuff that goes into it, which is impossible to fit on one set of gear. Especially considering that the fact that maining your own school has been the meta for so goddamn long that it would be really hard to change that. Like when it comes to dual schooling, I think they kind of got it down packed with this world to kind of incentivize you to use a different school, like past your own, of course. And then they got a new pin system, which is interesting nonetheless. For PvE, I can only sing its praises when it comes to PvE because it makes sense. I feel like the system that's put in place, it really works well for PvE. The problem comes with PvP, and it's basically the most important game mode. I'm sorry, y'all could be on my ass about this, but let's just be honest. PvP is really the only thing in this game that's actually fire. Cause you can really only go so far with PvE because the meta doesn't change, the things everything is just so settled that when you change something, it's a problem. Like with PvP, you could be really diverse, you could change a whole bunch of stuff, you could do all that, but they come with their own set of problems. And I feel like considering the fact that it works so well for PvE, there is just no way that this much diversity can work well for PvP. And that's unless you can change something drastically about the mechanics of the game, which PvP takes to an extreme already. And then one of those key factors is deck building. And what I'm getting at is, because you have this new Arch Mastery system, which is entirely its own set of things, and then you got the pin system, which is flawed in terms of PvP. Then you have brand new spell paths to already written spell limits that somehow end up changing. Then you're removing TCs from the game, which also somehow affects PvE because you can't use some of these TCs and raids, which were really important, and now we don't even have that. So basically with the Arch Mastery system, your decks are given something interesting, which is Arch Mastery. And what you could do with these is you could set this to any school, and it's also changeable within battle. And what the Arch Mastery pips do is it allows you to use other school spells. What Arts Mastery does is it gives you pips based off of whatever school you choose. So if I choose like a fire, if I choose to set my Arts Mastery to fire, I'm gonna be getting fire pips. Let's say I'm a storm and I set my pips to fire, you know what I'm saying? I'm able to use fire spells without having to use a fire mastery amulet. Basically, all that Arts Mastery does in TLDR is it removes the importance of it removes the importance of a mastery amulet. The problem with that is it's so easy to switch whatever pips you want for whatever school you want. Now you could go to any school if you have the training points, of course, and that's a whole nother. If you have the training points, you can go to any school you want and then train whatever spells you want from multiple different schools at the same time, simultaneously packing all of that stuff into your deck. And considering the fact that it's already really hard to balance PvP, what this essentially means is once people find the metas for one specific school, all somebody else has to do is just pick a school that's already broken with that said strategy, and then go and find another school that also has a really broken strategy, and then put all that stuff in their goddamn deck, and then put that stuff together to make an unbelievably, impossibly hard to counterable strategy. And then the people coming in that arguably might be doing their own broken strategy, they can't possibly pack enough defenses or counters or Roshambos to prevent them from getting pasta saladed on. It's impossible. It's just impossible now. There's no way you could possibly pack everything that you need to counter everything in the game. Our deck spaces are limited to 64 cards, plus whatever you have in your side deck. There is literally no way you can pack your own strategy and then be able to pack counters for all the other strategies. It's literally impossible. And then God forbid that you can, but you're gonna face RNG because you have to compensate so much to pack those counters to counter some really broken strategy. But then you fight somebody that has a low-key strategy, you didn't even think about it that much, but you can't pull what you need because you got all this other stuff to counter somebody else's really broken strategy, that you can't counter something that isn't really even broken or something that's supposed to be easily counterable. You just don't have it. And then top of that on with spell elements that can make spells even more broken or change spells that weren't necessarily broken and make them worse, to the point where the counters that you would use against certain strategies you can't really use anymore, or certain cards that you would use to do strategies you can't really use anymore. A prime example of that would be Oni's Forge, which was the main way for Storm to set up their Storm gens. But now, since it's been changed to the point where you can remove 3 shields for only 1 heal overtime, it severely nerfs one of the main strategies Storm has. Top of that off with the fact that they essentially nerfed the card along with nerfing the way to set it up. It's basically not even a viable strategy like that anymore. You'd have to put way more into it in order for you to set up your gambit. And then top of that off with other schools that got their spells changed, probably for the better, making their strategies much easier, or their strategies are much simpler to set up already, that some schools' main ways of actually countering them, they can't even really do it viably anymore to set up their own gambit. And then top of that off with TC bans like Wild Bolt, Storm Owl, that was freaking crazy. Like, this is one of the most important spells that Storm had in her arsenal. But you know, of course, they definitely didn't do anything about Vaughn. Now there's the fact that you can seriously dual school now, considering the fact their pins are in the game. It makes other schools that aren't really even offensive, or schools that aren't really defensive, it gives them that ability now, which can make some schools way too strong or better than the original school that specializes in those abilities. Sauce already made a really good video on it, but to basically top it all off, Ice could run literally the same stats or a little bit less than what Storm could run, but it's technically better because they have more health and resist base. So they could have around the same damage, same crit, same accuracy, same pierce as a normal Storm, but have way more health, resist, and damage on their own school to make it to where their strategies along with Storm's hitting capabilities or Fire's OT capabilities or Myth's hit around shields capabilities type shit, you know what I'm saying? God damn, could make these schools really OP. But luckily Wiz kind of did like, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this one, because you have to farm really hard to get these pins, because not only do you have to get the pins for the schools that you want, but you also have to make sure that the pins that you're getting are socketable for the school specifically. So let's say I want like a balance pin or whatever, balance damage. I can get a balance pin, but those balance pins are for all 7 schools. So there's a balance pin for Fire, there's a balance pin for Storm. You have to actually get the specific school locked jewel just so you can socket it onto your gear. Like, you can't just get a balance, you can't just get like a balance jewel and then socket it onto you. You have to get the balance jewel, and you also have to make sure it's for your specific school. Like, does that make any sense? I'm not sure if I'm explaining that good, but I hope you can get the gist of it. Farming gear honestly is its own video, I'm not even gonna lie, but all of this toppled together in one update is atrocious for PvP, and it'd be really hard for any beginner to get into it, especially if you have never played PvP before. You have to worry about all these different things now. You can't just jump into it and then God forbid that you don't have the gear that you need, which, like I said, is a whole nother disaster for a whole nother video. As your PvP and things are coming out of entirely left field, the stuff that you thought you knew is a whole lot different now, and it's ridiculous. It's to the point where it can be ridiculous. Like, it's too much variety, or it's too much to the point where nothing is counterable because there's so much stuff in the game now. Or at the very least, the counters that we have are just not good enough to equate to these overpowered ass strategies that are no doubt gonna come up. And then God forbid you run into one of the bugs with Arch Mastery or the TCs and spells that are still gonna get changed after this update as well. Like, what? I think this is one of the things where I literally urge you to go on and actually just try and PvP for yourself, or get on and actually just play the update for yourself, and you'll understand my concerns, or you'll understand what the problem is, because I don't even think this is a concern. This will become a genuine problem. Like, it does not take much at all for you literally just have to play the game. And I feel like the developers, or at least on the PvP side, you don't PvP, so there is absolutely no way you can constructively make changes to something you do not play. And yes, that is a call out. Anyways, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment what y'all want to see next. I'm probably gonna make a video on the gear. Like, I feel like I've complained enough about Lemuria's gear system, but this one is way worse than Lemuria. I almost want to take back what I said about Lemuria, because Lemuria gear farming is child's play compared to this. I'm not gonna lie.